Kevin O'Leary announces he's boycotting NYC over Trump ruling. He said, I'm not the only one. And I believe that businesses are going to start fleeing. They're going to start boycotting New York because of this crazy, crazy ruling. I mean, think about it. If they did this to the president, don't you think they would do this to you if you go against any of their political beliefs? You don't think they would use this same president against you? And they did. We've seen this before. We've seen them do this before. We've seen um, Trump was like one of the first people to get booted from platforms because these platforms didn't like what he had to say, and he was president. They were like, when they first did this, they were like, "Oh, we would never do this to our American citizens. They have a First Amendment right. We would never boot them from platforms or censor them." And then what happened? As soon as people started going against their narrative pertaining to certain things, they started booting you off of these platforms. They started censoring you from these platforms, just like they did Trump. And that's exactly what they're going to do when it comes to this. They're going to start, if you go anything against New York City, anything politically that they don't like, they will come for you. And if you and when you go try to get these business loans and your loan, you don't cross every T or dot every I, and you misrepresent a dollar, they will come after you for fraud and they will get you for millions of dollars, just like they did President Trump. They set precedent to this, and they, even though Hochul comes out, the governor comes out and try to say we won't use this on our citizens. You know, this is basically a one-off because of this is President Trump. Basically admitting that this was a political hit. She pretty much admitted that this was a political hit, but she tried to reassure businesses, we're not going to do this to you. But they're not falling for it. They're not falling for it, Hochul. They're not falling for it, New York City. They know that if you can come after him, one of the biggest people in our country, one of the most famous people in our country, you come after him with some of the best lawyers, you don't think they will come after other businesses that don't toe the party line? Of course they would. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we get started, go to hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my merch store. Also, check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for news as well. All right, let's talk about this news. Now, I'm going to get into the video of Kevin O'Leary in a second. But this article is from Trending Politics from Chris Powell. He reports that Shark Tank mogul Kevin O'Leary announced he is boycotting New York City following Judge Arthur I can never pronounce this guy's name, Arthur Engoron's $355 million ruling against former President Donald Trump. The decision was labeled as, quote, corrupt and baseless by O'Leary, who criticized both AG Letitia James and Judge Engoron for their role in the case. Again, this sets precedent. If you are a business in New York City, you should be afraid of this because they could come after you for basically nothing. If you misrepresent by a dollar, they will come after you. But quote, he says, quote, I'm shocked, O'Leary told Fox News. There's no rationale for it. I can't even understand or fathom the decision at all. He extended his criticism towards the state of New York, branding it a, quote, loser state alongside California due to unfavorable policies, high taxes, and uncompetitive regulation. Again, if you are a business, I don't understand why you would want to do any business in New York. Why would you want to do any business in California or Delaware? Because Delaware is just as bad. But, quote, New York was already on the top of the list of being a loser state. I would never invest in New York now, and I'm not the only person saying that. The reality TV star and entrepreneur also highlighted the impact of the ruling on future investments, particularly in high-end data centers, which are a booming asset class in the real estate sector. Quote, this has nothing to do with Trump. Forget about Trump. This is not a Trump situation. This is a New York problem now. So let's take a look at what he's saying here.
This award, I mean, just leaving the whole Trump thing out of it and seeing what occurred here, and I'm no different than any other investor. I'm shocked at this. I can't even understand or fathom the decision at all. There's no rationale for it. And so let me give you a real-time experience I'm having regarding this, and I'm not the only one. It doesn't matter what the governor says. New York was already a loser state. Like California is a loser state. There are many loser states because of policy, high taxes, uncompetitive regulation. It was already on the top of the list of being a loser state. I would never invest in New York now, and I'm not the only person saying that. And here's a real-time situation. In development in real estate right now, the hottest asset class is very high-end data centers. They cost anywhere from $2.5 to $3.5 billion each. They're very expensive. They require low power. You need permits. But most of the major institutions in the world need more data centers, and that's why developers like me are doing this. Now, you need power. So New York has Niagara Falls. Normally, you'd consider that to put in one of these facilities, create 400 jobs, 5 more jobs for each of one of those for auxiliary services. I can't go to New York. So I'm going to Oklahoma, North Dakota, West Virginia. Governor Stitt, Kevin Stitt, my staff have met with him. Governor Burgum, the same thing. Governor Justice. Those are winner states. They don't do things like this. I have to syndicate that debt and all that equity. We're talking billions of dollars here. Do you think any foreign institution or any private equity firm or any pension fund would touch New York? No. And that's why New Yorkers should be concerned. The fine people of New York should ask themselves, why are we such a loser state? How are we going to attract business? It's not just the existing businesses that are fleeing out to Texas and Florida. What about new money like this that I'm talking about, like a $4 billion data center? Not a chance I would put that in New York. Zero probability. Never. And so they've got a lot of work to do to find themselves getting out of this situation. This has all occurred post-pandemic. Winner states versus loser states. Look at Tennessee right now, fastest growing city in America, Nashville. Winner state, good policy, competitive taxes. You've got to start thinking about this in the context of winners and losers. New York, mega loser state.
So, Kevin, what did you think of Governor Hochul saying this is like a unique one and done?
Know what? Now, this is what I was alluding to earlier. No, I'm interested to see. I haven't watched this all the way through. I'm interested to see what he's saying. But my belief is no businesses believe her. No businesses believe that this is a one-off. All you have to do is be on the wrong political side of the aisle, and they will come after you. Let's see what OLeary says.
Because Donald Trump went too far and was so nefarious. You guys, if you're just doing what you should be doing, you have nothing to worry about. But they're very worried about it.
Yeah, we're very worried. Every investor is worried because where is the victim? Who lost money? This is some arbitrary decision a judge.
Absolutely, and that's what I've been saying for months now. How do you have a fraud case when no one is a victim of this fraud? It makes no sense, and yet they convicted this man of that.
Made this policy, and what this says, what does this say about the bar, the legal bar in New York? Aren't they going to question this judge? What is this? $355 million, and there's dollars as a penalty, and there's plus interest at 9%, and there's no victim? I mean, I'm sorry, her words fall on deaf ears to everybody. There's nothing she can say to justify this decision. And this has nothing to do with Trump. Nothing to do with Trump. Forget about Trump. This is not a Trump situation. This is a New York problem now. The whole world is looking at this saying, what are you doing to yourselves?
Well put, facts. Kevin. Always good chatting with you. Kevin OLeary.
All facts. I 100%, 1,000% agree with OLeary on this. But Aragon ruled that Trump must pay over $350 million and is barred from conducting any business in New York State for 3 years. Why would anybody would want to deal with that? Why would anybody would want to possibly be brought up on some, no pun intended, trumped up charges? because of your political views. That's basically what's going on here. But the landmark ruling on Friday not only threatens to drain Trump's available cash reserves, but also marks a critical juncture in his business career. The New York Attorney General Letitia James accused Trump and his company of inflating asset values on financial statements provided to lenders, insurers, and tax authorities to attain benefits such as loans and tax deductions. Again, if you're trying to imagine you're trying to get a loan, right? And you're trying to estimate about how much money you make. You make a little, you got little side hustles here, you got a full-time job here. You make a little estimate, and you estimate, let's say you estimate a little bit over, let's say you estimate over $500 in what you really make. So they will come and get you for fraud for that, for a mistake like that. And even though you paid off the loan, there was no issues there, the bank is happy you paid off the loan, the government can come after you for fraud. That's what's going on here. That's the precedent that's been set. But Judge Engoron played a critical role in the legal saga. Notably, he ordered Trump to comply with subpoenas for documents and testimony related to the investigation, and at times he ruled against Trump's legal arguments, aiming to limit the scope of the investigation or dismiss the case outright. The case has been highly polarizing. Supporters of Trump have criticized the investigation and Engoron's ruling as politically motivated. Of course it is. Trump's response from his home in Mar-a-Lago was swift and unyielding as he took to the media to denounce Judge Engoron as corrupt and to castigate the state of New York for its impeding financial collapse. He said, quote, "I also knew we have a corrupt judge. He's not a respected man," Trump stated. Again, I said before, he's been overturned on his case by the appellate division 4 times already. It's a record. Nobody ever been overturned on one case 4 times. All right, so let's play the video here.
But I also knew we have a corrupt judge. He's not a respected man. And again, I said before, he's been overturned on this case by the appellate division 4 times already. It's a record. Nobody's ever been overturned on one case 4 times. And I think very importantly, and I think ultimately the most important, we've employed tens of thousands of people in New York, and we paid taxes like few other people have ever paid in New York, and they don't care about that. It's a state that's going bust. It's a state that's going bust because everybody's leaving. And it's all headed up by Biden, who's destroying our country. So this is Russia, this is China, this is what you've been reading about all your lives, and it's happening right here in our country. Thank you very much. We will stop it. We will make America great again. You have my word. Thank you very much.
And that's exactly right. This is what we see in other countries. This is what we see in other countries. Not here in America, where your political opponent will be persecuted. Your political opponent will be held for fraud and other charges. I mean, this is a political hit job, and everyone knows it. But the former president did not stop at criticizing the judiciary. He extended his commentary to the broader state of New York. The court found that Trump and his associated entities engaged in fraud activities by submitting false financial data to banks and insurers to secure loans and insurance at more favorable rates. Despite the defense's denial of these allegations, court documents state they found substantial evidence of fraudulent misrepresentation and imposed several remedies, including the continuation of an independent monitor's appointment, installation of an independent director of compliance, and restrictions on the defendant's ability to conduct business in New York for a few years. Again, this is a tragedy. This is a political hit job. He will be able to appeal it, and hopefully they'll throw this they'll throw this judgment out. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest news. Until next time.